let's not build a faster horse, right? And like when we're talking about true innovation and truly making that next step, it's not about iterating on what you've got. It's almost actively not thinking about what you have
Right.
and thinking
Building
about
a different horse.
what's ideal.
Right.
Let's not build a horse, let's build a car. And welcome to another edition of the Best of Three podcast. I am still Alvin. That's still Tori. Today we're going to talk a little bit about ATP Paris, maybe touch a little bit on women's WTA Tour Finals. And as the men start working their way towards Turin, it's a good time for us to take a snapshot. But first, make sure you subscribe, like, follow, all that stuff. Okay, we've gotten past the business stuff. TH,
the business end of things.
The business end in the beginning.
Yeah.
TH, how you doing?
I'm good, Alvin. I'm good. Like you, man, it's been a great week of tennis in Paris. I have been thoroughly enjoying watching. I have to give a shout out to a player that when I was on the tour with SCO, hit with this player several times, who I just heard retired this past month, Nicholas Mahut. And I wanted to give my main man, Mahut, the other half, the unfortunate side of the world record longest match of all time at Wembley. And it's been a great career, and he has obviously over the last handful of years probably been kind of, on the other side of the best side of his career, but was a solid professional, always a good guy. And it's hard to say he'll be missed in the terms of, it's not like he's died or anything. He's just retiring.
He's just
moving on to his next chapter.
Yeah.
But certainly a player that I enjoyed watching. Obviously a fighter and a very, very savvy competitor. And you don't play for 3 days straight, Alvin, in a match that goes, wasn't it 72-70 or something like that in that last game? Something ridiculous, 68, something like that. You don't play a 3-day match and go that long in the fifth and not be a fighter and a competitor. You know what I mean? That if one match were to sum up your career, that's a pretty good one.
Hats off to Nicholas Mahut, and I think everyone has their memories of where they were at any given point of that match. I remember I was in grad school, and it was also during, I think, the World Cup was also happening at the same time. So there was a lot going on. But yeah, he hung it up. French, a French fighter for the Federation for quite some years, and hung it up in his final doubles match in Paris this week. So salute to Nicholas Mahut. But also salute to Mr. Jannik Sinner. I mean,
playing some good ball.
At this point, I think that's an understatement. I think at this point it's kind of hard to find like new ways to heap praise upon Mr. Sinner. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but I mean, he took out Felix Auger-Aliassime today in the final. Beat Zverev on his way there. Beat who else did he beat? Did he beat Bublik as well? I mean, he beat
Zverev beat Bublik, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Actually, pretty good match there too. But yeah, Sinner, I mean, he looks good. I mean, I think compared to anyone that's
beat Ben and on
that's
Friday.
Right. He beat Ben on Friday.
And then I think it was, who else did he beat on Cerundolo?
Okay, that's a pretty standard run for him. Like Cerundolo, Shelton, Zverev, and then Auger-Aliassime in the final. It's really hard to. I mean, at this point, he looks great against everyone that isn't Carlos, right? And even against Carlos, sometimes he looks great. So it's
he's the one playing the world, Alvin. I mean, I think we understand that and everything that means. I want to take a quick. This is a odd comment from me.
Okay.
Zverev, hats off to you for not withdrawing.
Yeah.
I was got to say it.
Yeah.
You could tell he was a little dinged up. You could tell he was not himself. It's very difficult to take the 0-1, the old bagel and hot dog on the way out in front of millions, especially TV land, in a tournament like this. But the values of this young man, who's not that young anymore.
I don't know about his values.
I say that to not pull out. Okay, I'm talking about his appreciation. Maybe that's a better word.
Okay.
Of the fans who paid to be there, and he had to take his butt whipping to a larger extent because of not wanting to pull out. And I feel like he's made that comment before. You can just see if it had been anybody else, right? They would have tapped out after the first, and maybe even before the bagel even happened, just out of pride and with no regard for the fans that paid the money. Um, it was an 0-1 that looked closer, but never in threat of, like, you were actually surprised that he actually won the game. It's kind of, I know it sounds like a weird statement. I watched a good chunk of it just to see what was going on, and I realized, obviously, he's about a step slow. I just want to make that one comment. I don't want to get too deep on the match because there wasn't much to see. I just say it to say, hats off to you for not withdrawing. I think there's been too many withdrawals in this year of big matches, and I respect the fact that he at least finished the match for the fans' sake, and that's where my compliment will stop, and
Okay,
my comment on this will stop.
I think it's fair. I mean, let's take it back to the last 2 weeks then, because prior to playing in Paris, making the semifinals, losing to Sinner, he made it to the finals of Vienna where he lost to Sinner as well. And he played I didn't have any plans on talking about that match and tournament because we've already missed it, but fantastic match. He came out in that first set, actually did something that Sinner doesn't allow a lot of players to do, which he took it to him early. And got Sinner rocked a little bit in that first set. Obviously Sinner got back on his A game there in the second set, and then they played a highly competitive third set with Sinner winning that one 7-5 in the third. Again, this is the final of Vienna, but he played some really good tennis to get there. And I remember watching that match going, man, this reminds me of like 2024 Australian Open Zverev when he kind of went through Carlos a little bit. I think it was in the quarterfinals, maybe round of 16. I think it was round of 16. But like every once in a while, Zverev will show up and show you why he is the number 3 to 4 or 5 player in the world, right? When he's serving big, when he is, simply just adjusting his court position just enough to get within 3 feet of the baseline as opposed to 5 feet behind the baseline. He does have the overall ball speed and ball quality to really impact opponents. And I saw,
and the backhand is all day.
Sure, I mean, that goes without saying. Yeah,
but the problem I saw in this match, and I did not see that in Vienna. Maybe maybe his undisclosed injury or whatever it was the old standard ab pull or something, where it was just, it wouldn't allow him to do anything more than what he did.
Sure.
He served bigger in that match. He had, when Zverev's serving well, Zverev is 3 in the world.
Yeah, he's tough out.
I mean, he's 3 in the world all day. When he's not serving well, his forehand is not big enough to get freebies on its own. And his forehand is literally a reset ball occasionally and a down the line so he can bring it back to my backhand. It's so routine. And what I hated watching about in the match was his patterns are so limited off the forehand side because he wants you to come back to the backhand. And without a serve, he is a very tall, very impressive looking shell. And there isn't much else there. When he's serving bigger and coming forward, he's actually got underrated volleys, and he actually has enough. And he's 6'6", darn near 6'7".
Yeah.
So he's not short. So he comes forward and imposes well. He looks actually really good, and I feel like he should have done more of that over his career, let alone in the second and third set of that match again. I just wanted to say I feel like if he has a shot of breaking into that, truly staying top 3, and maybe, just maybe, being a threat to either Carlos or Jannik, there needs to be more of that coming down the pipeline. If not, he is, in my opinion, going to be a very routine 3-3-2, or however the service things break down, even if helping.
Yeah, I think right now the idea of catching Jannik or Carlos, especially as they're still getting better, and he is, he's much older than both of them. Yeah, much older. He's significantly older than Carlos. He's a little older than Jannik. Kind of in the or tail end peak of his career. I think his battle is like you said. Can he hold on to number 3? Can he keep Taylor Fritz at bay? Who I would say over the last 18 months, Taylor has added a little bit to his game that allows him to to now kind of beat Zverev fairly regularly, where they used to go back and forth and early in their career when Zverev owned that matchup. So in the next, let's say, 6-7 months between now and the end of Wimbledon and the French Open, can he tap into that space that we haven't seen him tap into regularly, right? And I think it's, if he's serving well, is he hunting for that first ball strike? Because I think what he lacks is, like, obviously he lacks the foot speed and the fast twitch kind of muscles to create offense off of those middle balls that don't scream tag this and come in. Like his default is kind of reset, kind of step back, kind of take a full swing, and I think it takes a little more to shorten that up and take a more aggressive swing.
It takes a lot, Alvin. It takes
time.
A lot, and I feel like his all his tactics are confused. He is a big guy that takes the ball early, that doesn't go through you. So you've got this. It's like he's played on carpet so much that he is playing an on the rise defending game, and the very concept of both are morons. So he's certainly taking away time, but when he gets ran off taking away time, he can't keep up in the foot speed race. So he's hitting a ball speed that is X, and he's has the foot speed of a Y. So if he does have that deeper trench, right, in the court, he runs himself, because now his on the rise backhand is getting him ran to the forehand side. He can't hurt you off the on the run forehand. And so at some point, you got to think to yourself, well, then why are you doing it? You know what I mean? If it ain't working, right, then why are we doing it? So anyway, I wanted to say that. Speaking of holding on to number 3, Taylor Fritz, of course, has made a slight improvement in this game overall. But, and I know you were going to talk about it at some point here pretty soon, Felix is playing the best ball of his life right now, Alvin. I mean, the guy is he's playing the type of tennis I had always hoped to see from Felix from when he first came on tour, when you saw his tools. He is that guy now. And I am so happy to see it. I read a good book that a sports psychologist, one of my members, shout out to Renee Lopez. And the book is entitled "It Takes What It Takes."
It takes what it takes.
And I have coined a handful of other things. It takes as long as it takes, right? It takes as much as it takes. It takes what it takes. And I feel like when Renee hit me up to this book, it made such a profound effect on me to help me understand there's no timetable. We'd like for there to be one, but let's be honest. If it takes what it takes, we keep measuring people off of the Carlos Alcaraz and the Jannik Sinner time table.
Sure.
Right? Yao Fonseca, okay, why come they didn't get it done when they were 18? Well, I'm sorry. All of us aren't quite that gifted to do so, and appreciate the good ones that can. However, right, and we've had 3 phenomenal ones the last 20 years that we've unfortunately had to kind of bring our kind of refocus our vision and recalibrate our expectations, right, to what was phenomenal that we just been treated to. So I'm really happy to see Felix go through this. I keep talking about my handful of words, right? He's playing well right now. He is playing very well right now, Alvin, and I wanted to find out your thoughts because even this match with Jannik, was it today, yesterday, whatever it was?
It was today, yeah.
Was pretty tough sledding for Jannik, and had Jannik had let up, I thought he was nipping at his heels enough to be able to actually take that third. That's the love. He actually continued to play stronger and more consistently in deep in points than he did. I thought he played better. I thought the Bublik match was a good match.
Yeah,
he played better in the loss to Jannik than he did in the win against Bublik, and obviously had to. But I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah. So and I remember I was in. This is Miami Open 2019, I want to say. I was watching Felix, and I was asked, I texted you, and I was like, what is it? What does he do so well? Like, how is he at that time? You weren't that far removed from working with Sco. I was like, how is he that much better? Like, what does he have that, like someone like a Sco didn't have? And you're like, well, pretty much everything. He does everything better. As I've watched him kind of, mature and some would say stagnate over the last few years, maybe even backtrack a little bit, in the last 2 years as Sinner and Alcaraz have kind of, taken the mantle of the sport, if you will. He's still the same guy, I think. I don't think technically much has changed. I feel like he moves very well. He's strong. The limitations are still the same. Like that backhand it's barbecue chicken sometimes. Like for him, a good day is when he's not missing it. But he can't create any offense over there. And I think what we're starting to see like right now, especially since the U.S. Open, and I want to kind of talk about his season a little bit. Like since the U.S. Open, he's kind of found that place where he's like, I'm in control of all the things that I can do. Like he's been patiently aggressive with the forehand, which is how he likes to create offense, right? Serving well, returning so well. Has been returning well since Cincinnati, right? And I think that is the best version of him. And I think it's less about Jannik, and less about Felix, and it's more about Jannik in this situation. Like I was watching the match today very intently, and I'm like, the man made 2 mistakes all match, and one was in his first service game, and then the next one was when he was serving at 2-3 in the breaker. It's like that's it, and that's Jannik gives you no room to breathe. Like he's kind of like Iga. I see a lot of like the way that they both start matches and come at you and very quickly show you like, I'm already playing at the highest level right now. There's no work. You can't work into this match. I'm ready to go. And if you get down an early break,
there'll be no slip ups.
There will be no slip ups. You need
no mental lapses, no slip ups. So any mistake you make just puts you further down, further under the tidal wave that is me.
Right.
100%.
And Felix, because of his, lack of ability to dictate off of the ad wing, right? Like that's the limitation. That's the limitation. And you saw Jannik just go into it, pull him off. And because he's hitting that, he can't get the pop he needs on that backhand side. It allowed Jannik to step in and find the angle on the backhand side. Like Jannik hit so many angle backhand winners coming off the service box. Like I was like, yeah, well, that ball's not. It's sitting on a plate for him. And I was actually really excited to get in here and talk to you about that specifically. Like, is there something technically that you see off of Felix's backhand that is not allowing him to really like let that left side throw through?
He takes too many backhands on the rise. His backhand's so short that if he is a tad early, it's already going to be shorter due to less backswing. In most cases, when you have that bit of, I'm going to use the term push versus slot. When you have less backswing, you're relying on timing, you're relying on weight transfer, you're relying on legs to just get under enough to give you enough depth off of the absorb pace and return pace situation. The problem out of it comes into as a backhand itself. The problem comes into there's not enough room in the backswing to get the elbow behind the pocket and then be able to drop, in his case, right-handed, drop the right wrist enough to be able to slot. And most good backhands, Jannik Sinner's got a phenomenal one. Carlos has a very underrated backhand, by the way.
He's really shorted up lately. Like he's tightened that thing up.
The backhand's gotten a ton better in the last couple of years. And then, of course, obviously one of the best backhands of all time being Mr. Novak Djokovic. They have the ability to take what looks to be shorter, but it's actually, if you watch it, Alvin, the backswing starts before they even take that first left foot step, right? So I'm going to my left. Their racket's already in prep or unit turn. By the time they get that right foot down, it's as if there were 2 backswings. There's the prep, and then there's the backswing, where in most cases on the forehand, as we all know, we can almost turn and hold the racket there.
Right, you're already
on the right foot. I'm already in. I can drop and buggy. I can drop and load and go big, but that's open stance. That's forehand side. The best backhands have a slightly bigger. Let me change the word. Slightly longer backswing, which allows them to then drop it back, So by the time that the feet step in, the racket's in sync with the legs. The racket's dropped, legs are dropped, I'm stepping in, crushing it. But I'm bringing momentum with me.
Yeah.
What I find, and this is one of the problems I see in top juniors today as well, players have good on the rise backhands because they run around a lot of forehands. They take the ball early in the backhand, big forehand, run around, take it early, buy time on the forehand, take it early, buy time on the forehand. The best backhands have actually big back swings.
Like Zverev.
And they actually power like Zverev.
Yep.
And they power through the backhand. Now, why does that make a big deal? I'll tell you why. Because by the time they have a little bit of momentum to come through the ball, Zverev does it extremely well. Amanda Nisimova, while we're talking about some of the best backhands, has a pretty sizable backswing. That backhand is, by the time she makes contact, it's through you.
Yeah.
Now look at hers versus Iga's. Iga's backswing is so short,
Yep.
Pauline to say, but now you look at players that have a little slightly bigger backswing. Arena's backswing is a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Rybakina's backhand, quiet as it's kept, very solid backhand, and can just crush back because there's a backswing.
Yep.
If you have both, you are world class at that side.
If you have both, as in big backswing and you can take it early?
Bingo.
Yeah, that's hard.
And know the difference. Most players don't. Felix has the on the rise. That's why he takes so many backhands early and bumps. Yep. And he tries to defend half, can open, buggy, whatever he can do on that side, which he's an athlete. So and that's what he did a lot against Bublik. Bublik is very similar, by the way. Bublik has a good on the rise backhand. He bumps it, he runs it, maybe a little bit more feel, but hits that backhand, right? But hits that backhand pretty short. He can lengthen it at times, but it's by no means a Zverev backhand. But he's savvy enough, cagey enough to do what he wants to do. He does not have the full-on big backswing, take you down the line, go through you, which a lot of players that have really, really good backhands do. I want to say this out because it's a little bit overrated, in my opinion. Most people don't realize how hard that is to do, to have both, right? Mm-hmm. To have the on the rise defending backhand and to have the actual the true strike backhand. Because in most cases, if you have a bigger backswing, that by definition puts you further back in the court, right? Yeah. Because you need time, right? And if you have the on the rise, well, typically most players don't mind that because the forehand's a weapon anyway. And so I feel guys like Taylor Fritz, guys like, even guys like Francis, guys that just run around a lot, obviously all the counter punishers like De Minaur and Tommy Paul, even my main man, Casper Ruud, they have good backhands, great backhands, but they don't have both. They may have one of the two. They may be able to get out of some jams here and there, but they don't have the rifle and they don't have the quick, what I'm going to call the on the rise dagger. And I think you got to have both at the highest level because now if you don't, you basically carry that burden to the forehand side.
And that's that's an interesting thing, like, as I think about like where the game is right now, like kind of how the game is played. And then I also start thinking about like my own game, like as someone who grew up hitting a pretty good backhand, and I felt like I could actually do both on the rise, like kind of I'm left-handed. So like take that, a righty's forehand cross court, cut it off, bump it line, and then wait and sit and kind of camp out, wait for the forehand, which is kind of a lefty go-to. Nadal would flop it, right? He would back up, sit on that right leg, flop the backhand down the line, slide over to the deuce court, and then start working the forehand there. Yep. But there's like three things happening at the same time, right? It's like, are you reading the ball coming in well enough on that side? Felix's case on the left side, and then are your calculations on point? Like, can I afford to step up and take this ball on the rise, knowing that my trade off is going to be pace, right? Yep. If I back up, what is going to happen to the other side? Because I can see Felix, that we saw that cross court, ad court rally so often today. Like, if Felix did back up, Jannik was already sliding over, hitting forehands anyways. Like, he did it on match point too. Match point was a like quintessential, like, this is how this match went. Cross, cross. Left, Felix feathered one a little bit thin. Jannik slides over. Jannik slides over inside out. Next ball inside in from about 4 feet from inside the sideline. Like, you're not even taking a step over there. But yeah, you don't really have the time to back up, because if you back up, you got to hit it so well, so well.
It's got to be worth the risk, doesn't it? It's gotta pay dividends, and that's the problem to me at this high level of the game that these guys are now forcing everyone else to play. You've got to be able to crunch the back end. You mentioned the calculations. I think it's actually even more the risk reward. Is the risk worth the reward? If I take a bigger backswing, I better have a good enough backhand to take this risk and get something from it. If I am Novak, I can hit the back anywhere I want.
Yep.
Period. Period. Even right now, he still has one of the best backhands on tour. Look at some of the better backhands over the course of time. Andre Agassi, and I say for recent memory, right? Andre Agassi had one of the best backhands to date at that point in time. Arguably as good, if not better than his forehand, because he had the ability to go line on anybody at any time.
Yep.
Return, off the ground, cross or line. It got so big that I think Gil Reyes or somebody else mentioned you better start getting a couple of shots, like a drop shot, just to be able to take advantage of how big that ball is. Marty Fish, I thought maybe was one of the quintessential phenomenal backhands back in the day. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention for 1 second I just lost his name. God bless it. I'm killing myself.
Where's he from? Where's he from?
South America, best backhand all day long. I'm
Marcelo Rios. You're not going Rios,
no,
are you?
Come
on, man.
Rios. Rios had a good backhand now. No. God bless it. How am I forgetting this guy's name? 3 in the world. Got to be Argentinian. Phenomenal back. Like not even good.
Not Delpo.
No, Delpo had a good back, but his form was massive.
Yeah.
No, older. I'm talking late 90s, early 2000s.
We'll come back to it.
It'll come back to you. Here, the ability to hit a clean backhand line neutralizes the inside outer, right? Novak made a killing on that his first 10 years. He just knew. And that's what really hurt him again, what made him so much better than Roger. Roger needed to hit an inside out or an inside in to take offense. Novak never let it.
Yep.
He pinned the backhand so much in the cross court that he was going to match up on that side. And as soon as Roger even thought about moving, Novak's down the line, crushed it. Period. Even if it wasn't that good, it was deep enough and penetrating enough that Roger couldn't take that risk.
And the same thing with Rafa's forehand cross court. Like that's the same thing that Novak would do to him. It's like the same thing.
So this is the matchup that if you don't have that penetrating deep backhand and you're that player, you won't get that ball. You take away that, Alvin, that's sometimes 60% of a person's patterns is off that inside out, inside in wing. So if you take away that option to do it, not only do you force as the person who doesn't have the option anymore, you run the risk of giving this person downline backhands all day. What I saw, ironically, in spite of that, Felix still kept the score close off of that side. And that's what I was so impressed with. I felt like every time the points went longer-ish, they were all going to favor Jannik, but the fact that there was still some parity just shows to me how much better Felix is playing right now. I'm just so excited to see him playing this way because I feel like the top 2 need people to continue to come after him, and they need that level of being tested. Otherwise, not only is it bad for you and me, the fan, but it's also those 2 start to get bored. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, they want the challenge as well as we want to see a challenge.
Yeah, and it's an interesting matchup because Felix has like all of the tools, but we just spent better part of the last 10 minutes talking about that one thing that is going to keep him. Yeah, and he also doesn't return well enough. He didn't create a break point like at all today. Jannik
backhand returns too short.
Right.
It's too basic. It sits up in the middle of the court. He takes it early, but he takes it early at his own peril. And that's something that Bublik wasn't able to expose. And yet Bublik tried. I felt like both players, ironically, when Bublik played Felix the day before, had this early backhand return on the deuce that sits literally about a foot, maybe 2 behind the service line. Depending on level of pace and height, it's a very user-friendly ball. And if
Hmm.
somebody ever describes your ball as user-friendly, like the newest iPhone, it's probably not a good thing. You know, you want to not have any shot be user-friendly. And Alvin, I watched pretty much all the match with Felix and Alexander. I did not see a backhand return off the deuce that went past that mark. Period. Off either player.
I,
And the
yeah.
inside outs were phenomenal on both. Bublik, I saw some very crafty drop shots. I saw some very athletic moves, and I was very. We forget how athletic Felix is, but there was even a drop shot he didn't get to that he almost fell, and he athletically spun out of it without falling. And I'm like, anybody else would have twisted an ankle or busted their head
Right.
right wide open on the side. He came out of like a cat. Like I'm like, God, this guy's athletic and he's tall. So anyway, I say that to say I saw more out of Felix in that match and his ability to trust his forehand and go with that big inside out. But if he's gonna have a second part of his career, he had better get a better backhand return that can actually put one of these guys backward, because nobody takes the ball earlier than Jannik Sinner. And if you can't at least push him deep enough, he's the second coming of Novak Djokovic on that side. His footwork is too good. His backhand penetrates. He can take it anywhere he wants, and he has better footwork than anyone else on tour. So if your ball isn't deep enough, his footwork alone will smother you.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't choose to take it to you yet, his footwork alone will take away your time.
You know, two different things. I wanted to kind of go. You got my brain spinning here. Kind of
Yep.
two paths here. I wanted to talk about Sinner, and you mentioned he takes the ball early. I think that one of the really cool things about this particular event is the camera angle that they use is one of those. Like, they will sometimes go into this lower baseline, baseline camera angle where you can kind of see like what type of actual shape these guys are getting on the ball, right? And
Yep.
it also
Yep.
makes the game look a little more simple than it does when you have your standard angle, but one of the things that always impresses me so much about Jannik Sinner, and I was telling my brother this the other day, like there are two people that if I watch them play within an hour before me going on the court, I'm going to hit the ball so much better because you have that
Mm-hmm.
visual in your mind. One, especially off the backhand side. One is Andy Murray, and
Yep.
two,
And Murray had a
Jannik.
phenomenal backhand.
Right, and the other one is Jannik Sinner, and
Mm-hmm.
for different reasons. I think Andy Murray's his backswing on his backhand is just so economical, right? Like it's
Yep.
it's efficient. He gets that shoulder turn very quickly, and then just kind of uses his legs to make that ball go where he wants to go. Again, he's one of those guys who could do it on the rise, right? Like while hugging close to the baseline. Jannik gets his base so wide and so low on both forehand and backhand wing,
Right.
the amount of ground force he can create with very little time is a joke.
Yep.
I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about like
Yep.
how low and wide he gets, and like especially when he's like
Yep.
hitting it out wide on like open stance backhand. It's like what it looks like a lefty's forehand. Like he's just throwing that thing because he gets so low, and so it makes me think about Felix was the other part of it. Is it technique? Like if you were in his camp, right? There's probably like two things you want to look at: technique, but could you also? He uses an old school Babolat Pure Aero VS Tour. Like that thing is like I got one upstairs in my office. That thing's it's a big boy, very
Yep.
thin frame, not very forgiving. Is that something also worth looking at, like to allow him to have a little more play on that side of the when he's playing that close to the baseline?
I'll take your first one first.
Take the
You're
first one
talking
first.
you're talking about, at least I'm understanding you to say you're talking about taking it versus center. Let's break that down into two small subcategories. It's doing well with everybody else. Let's understand that, number one.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about what he has to do against center. Center is a type of player that unless you play your ball in the back 5 feet of the court and you are a striker, and I mean a pure ball striker, you have to have the ability to hit the ball that deep just to keep him from not building.
Mm-hmm.
In the, and the great shout out to the great Nick Saviano, who made me understand these four terms and the two that we use all the time: defense, neutral, building, offense.
Yep. Yep.
Everyone thinks it's offense and defense. In reality, those two rarely happen. Neutral is not, Alvin. Neutral, as I've mentioned to you numerous times over the course of our coaching, both sides of the basket, neutral is your ability to neutralize your opponent, not in between offense and defense. And of course, building is your trying to dictate / set up your point. Now, with that said, if you want to neutralize Jannik Sinner, your ball better be in the back 5 feet of the court.
Yep.
I would even say on a good day indoors, back 3 foot of the court.
Yep. Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're not happy. It's not happening. Let me tell you what my main man, Carlos Alcaraz, figured out. The harder you hit, the better Jannik Sinner is. What he showed me at the Open was the ability to roll the ball higher out of the strike zone, still deep, and not give Jannik any power. What do you do with that on the rise ball? You bring it back cross court because you have to. You already committed to your court position. Then Carlos says, gotcha.
Yep.
I didn't give you any pace to hurt me with, and I still kept you deep. I have figured out the Rubik's Cube. And now I will run you to the forehand side, which no on-the-rise player likes to get ran. They don't get ran often. They don't have to. And then he can start to work his magic going back behind you, as you do against most quick players. And now the morph. The morph is the ability to be 2 players at once. And the counter punisher and the aggressive baseliner all in once. He did that to Jannik. So let's go back to Felix. If Felix were to hit this ball deeper, he would have had a chance, and maybe a chance in this match, to go 3. But I don't think his odds would have improved a whole lot, because at some point he might actually be giving Jannik more pace to work with. Now let's talk about the racket. I personally think the rackets was helping him. I think that shape on that forehand has actually gotten a lot better. I think he's found a way to flatten out the forehand a little bit better. Serve looked really good this whole tournament. It's been looking good for the last few tournaments. I thought he looked good, quite frankly, in the Open. I thought he looked very, very solid on the hard court. I don't think that's where the change should be made.
Fair.
Possibly string intention, maybe. But let's face it, Alvin, the guy's hitting the ball pretty clean, pretty big. His backhand just needs more length against those handful of top players. I could say the same thing, honestly, about Taylor Fritz. I don't think Taylor's backhand is that great. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't need to be, because the serve and forehand is so clean.
Right.
Most players, it isn't needed. But we're dealing now with, I forget what latest update I have on my iPhone, update 14, 17, iPhone 17. Now I've got such updates that a lot of people are still operating on the old OS. And I just need a weapon and no weakness, maybe 2 weapons and no weakness. These guys are now saying, oh, we got 3 cameras now. You need 3 weapons.
Yeah.
And the weakness, you need 3 weapons and a closet strength now. And now you're dealing with a guy with 1, maybe 2 cameras and a little slow operating system, and you're like, it's not technologically on the same page. And that's where I feel like we're at with guys like the Taylors, like the Felixes. As good as they're playing, they're operating on the older OS.
Yeah, I actually had a colleague mention to me. He said he had this phrase the other day. He said, "Let's not build a faster horse," right? And like when we're talking about true innovation and truly making that next step, it's not about iterating on what you've got. It's almost actively not thinking about what you have and thinking
building
about
a different horse.
What's ideal. Let's not build a horse. Let's build a car. Like let's stop.
Build something else.
Build something
think
else.
Horse.
Don't think horse. Don't think horse. So
don't think horse or horsepower. I'm with you 100%.
And maybe even it's like, okay, like Felix gets in trouble against Jannik when they get stuck in that ad court, cross court rally. It's like, well, you think about some of the things you mentioned it with Carlos, like what does Carlos do that allows him to kind of like you throw all these marbles up in the air and really get Jannik kind of out of sorts? Like, well, he makes him hit not that same ball that he comfortably wants to hit. Like, yeah, he'll take it up, which if you can turn, speaking of Marcelo Rios, if you can get Jannik into that hitch kick backhand where he's trying to like,
Right.
not back up and
Right.
still maintain
Leverage,
position.
leverage contact point for time. No,
Yeah, like
100%.
he's not hitting that ball with that much pace, right? That's just I'm gonna hit the shot because I don't want to back up. And this is where I want to be. It's like, okay, make him hit that ball. Okay, what else does Carlos make him do? Carlos will make him hit the slice. Like he'll slice that backhand down, make Jannik hit up with the slice, or get down low and bring that backhand up, make him roll it.
Right.
The third option is the kamikaze option that we talk about all the time. Hit the damn thing down the line. Like, let's just get weird. Let's I don't like going 3 backhands cross court with you, because with each ball I get further and further behind. You start sliding over a little bit further into the ad court. The hell with it. Throw that thing down the line and let's flip the table here.
Flip the table strong and have a forehand with the ability to hurt you when I do it. I've got to have speed and a risky forehand on the other side for you to risk, because otherwise I'm just going back cross court, which we saw with Sasha Zverev. It just doesn't work, because there's no threat on that side. So you're 100% right. Carlos brings up very different options off that side. I think Felix is playing some great ball. I don't want to take that away from him. You just have to understand it. And my comment about the operating system is in my opinion, probably the best way to understand Carlos and Jannik right now. Jannik much more surgical. I think Carlos is still an artist out there trying to figure it out and trying to play a little bit instinctual. But I do feel that most of the other players are playing older operating system, older mentality of what can be done. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm a coach now working with a young player who I think has the goods to go deeper, I would have, to your point about not building a faster horse, I would have them, they have to have something different than what the current world offers. And they have got to have, short of sounding pessimistic, everything. And they have to have, my opinion, a net game that is beyond solid, and a return game that is flawlessly aggressive. And I know that's extremely difficult to hear. If there's one thing both players don't necessarily do that might be an opening, they don't have ultra aggressive returns. They have very good returns, they have very deep returns, and they look to build the point from there. Andre was probably one of the last players we saw that was, I think they coined the term the return ace because of him. He was one of the few players that had the return ace that I don't think many players have used. Look at other players who've done. Murray, you mentioned, was a great one. By the way, my player I was thinking was David Nalbandian.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking Argentine, I was thinking backhand, and I'm like, it's got to be, it's David. I just couldn't
very,
get
very Murray-esque backhand, like lay that
very
thing down.
Murray-esque backhand in his own era, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bottom line, I said it probably was early, probably early to mid 90s, not even late 90s. But my point being, you've got to have a backhand. You know what Murray did well? One of my favorite backhands from Andy Murray was the deuce side, inside in, you call it skinny cross, backhand down the line on the deuce. Nobody could handle that ball, Alvin. And everybody kicks tee on the deuce on the second or even the first serve sometimes. Murray would take that backhand inside in deep. Yep. What do you do, Alvin, as a right-handed player? You can't go inside out or in because the ball's too deep. You just landed on your left foot.
You just landed. You just landed.
Your ball's coming at you deep, landing about 5 feet from the baseline, deep, not even corner. You got to back up. You're going to lift this next ball. And now here comes Mr. Murray with his old sunken wrist forehand with a 20-pound racket, just
whipping that thing across court.
Whipping across court. But what did he do? Well, what he really did was he took away all first strikes. There is no first strike. You better have a good backhand from behind you.
Yeah.
And what he did was, and he did it so well, was he took that ball and took you out of any possible offensive situation. Worst case scenario, you went back down the line if you had that off your back foot. And then on the backhand side, he took the ball at you within about, I think, of a 3-point circle, the top of the key off of a free throw line, put that little 5-foot little mini rainbow at the baseline. That's where you're getting the ball on that side. And if you took it early, he took as many wide, short cross court service box corner as he took line when he was ready to really go through you. So not only did he return well, he aggressively returned and took the big server out of a lot of his things. Novak had his own way, and Novak would always, especially early Novak, was known to go down the line on you and just take your ball so early he knew you couldn't do anything else.
Right.
But Murray, to me, actually had better returns and more aggressive returns, although Novak's return or break of serve ratio is astronomical. I actually felt Andy had better return of serves, tactically speaking. That being said,
Novak high rate of returns. He just didn't miss them, and he neutralized very
miss
quickly
them and broke you 60% of the time. Andy, I felt, had better returns against you that he broke you from the inside. He knew you were like, God bless it, man. I'm hitting my best kick over there and they ain't working. So that in itself, in a sense, broke you down from the inside. But I want to make sure I'm making the point. That's what the next player will have to have. They will have to have not just Novak-like consistency, because that's Novak. You're going to have Novak consistency with Murray return. You're going to have a net gain. You're going to have pretty much everything, but you're going to have the ability to have a couple of different ways to play, not one. And if there's any hope, you better hope these guys retire first.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and when you start looking at the numbers in that match, right? Like, not a single break point chance created by Felix. Like, that's kind of it. Like, he made 4 first serve returns. He made 6 second serve returns. So, like, we're talking about that. I mean, that feels like a typo. I mean, it's not. It just didn't make a lot of returns. Like, that's not. I mean, luckily he served well.
Yeah,
but
and
kept
himself in it.
He kept himself in it, but that's not gonna.
Was it 4 and 6? What was it?
4 and 6.
4 and 6,
3 and 6. 4 and 6. Yeah.
3 and,
so
I thought I had 3 and 6. Yeah.
Close match, and you could almost say maybe Jannik could have played better. He didn't really have to play that much better because he was inside the singles lines the majority of the match, and he wasn't being challenged on the serve. Like, so, it close in score, highly entertaining. But when you're really looking at it, you're like, damn, there's a level and a half in between the two of them right now.
1,000%. It was 6 and 4 with Bublik and Felix the other day. So just to your point, and I never felt like Bublik was threatening. I felt like Bublik was doing well to keep it close. And I felt the same way when I watched Felix today with Sinner. However, the main difference being, I was rooting for Felix a little more. I was hoping Felix might have a chance. But when I really take a step back from it, Jannik didn't give him much to work with, and he didn't. And again, he takes no breaks. There's no off games. There's no mental lapses. He's locked in, and so that's it's a tough call. Happy to see Felix playing this well.
Yeah, I love it.
To see Felix's offense. Happy to see Felix coming forward. Alvin, he's finally coming forward, and I feel like for a lot of these guys, I've been watching Carlos do this for the better part of the last 6 months of this career. Obviously, this match with Cam Norrie and all that. I think he either one part was looked past him, didn't really understand the kind of tough matchup that Cam Norrie can be. / maybe he's trying to save himself for the end of the tournament. Who knows? But what I will say is that I feel like Carlos, the better half of this 6 months, this last 3 or 4 months of the year, U.S. Open in particular, has found ways to come forward more. He's found ways to expand his offensive arsenal. And I look forward to seeing him in Turin, seeing this whole thing come down to that, to see what those two guys, the magic those guys might present once again. But I was very, very excited to see Felix Auger-Aliassime playing the level of tennis that I had always thought he was capable of playing. And very, very excited to see him playing this. This is now 2 tournaments back to back. I see 2 big. He's going to play more than that, but including the U.S. Open, including obviously here at Paris, because it's looking like he is for real. Bublik had a look in his face when they were shaking hands, Alvin, like, you kidding me? Nice serve.
Yeah.
And
that was that was such a weird match. Like, I mean, Felix played a great first set, and then like he kind of came apart a little bit for the first 3.5 games of the second set. And it looked like Bublik was like, I think Bublik might have been up 4-1 at some point. Maybe I misremember the exact score, but like I thought Bublik, he was up a break and he was rolling, and then Felix just like kind of like shook out of it.
Yeah.
Like And I was like, okay, and I'm good. And then got himself,
Yep.
kind of ran away with it towards the end.
Yep. And
But
and to that point, when's the last time you've seen him serve his way out of some jams like that? He was hitting every serve he had on speed dial, and I was just, again, you have to be able to play at that top of a level. So anyway, I was very happy to see it, and I'm looking forward to, you know, the next year. Besides Turin and end of year, all this bodes well for next Australian Open when we start seeing these guys coming into that tournament with with what I call fresh axes. You know what I mean? Go
yeah,
home and sharpen your axe before you start coming out trying to cut down some trees. You know what I mean? Sharpen
so
your axe a little bit, and then come out to Australia ready to go to work.
speaking of Australia, like Felix he had a very interesting year, right? So he started off the year, wins a 250 in Adelaide, right? Does not necessarily perform well at US at Australian Open round of 64, but then picks up another 250 win in Montpellier, semifinal Doha, finals. I
Yeah,
mean semifinal Dubai. Sorry, Doha semi, Dubai final. Like good start to the year outside of that
yeah,
Australian Open showing, and then he kind of went into a little bit into the wilderness, like round of
yeah. The
64 at
doldrums.
Miami,
Yeah,
32
yeah.
in 64
Right,
in Indian Wells, 32 Miami, and then like
right.
first round loss in Monte Carlo, first round loss in Madrid. Did well in Hamburg, but like he's been kind of all over the place. First round loss in Roland Garros, second round at Wimbledon, and then rights the ship, Cincinnati quarterfinals, U.S. Open
Right.
semifinals.
Semis. Right,
Yeah. So it's like okay, and then quarterfinal Shanghai, he wins. I think it was Brussels, maybe right before this
right.
event. I can't remember it was Brussels 250. So my man three 250 wins in a year, 250 king. We could take a couple 500s here, but yeah, as we started the year well, not so great on the natural surfaces. Ending the year well, and Felix always does well indoor hard courts, right?
Right.
I
He
think
is from Canada.
he touche. Touche. Maybe that's it. That's it. That's it. It's that simple. He doesn't like playing
Yeah.
outdoors.
Yeah.
That's it is what it is. I
Hey,
too, him, the Bublix of the world. Bublix have had a really strong 2025. I think
yeah.
we'll say the Bublik talk for our end of year wrap up. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, can he come out and start and build on what we've seen in the last 2 months, carry it forward, down under. That would be exciting. But another thing that's exciting to me, and you mentioned Turin, make year-end championships matter. With Carlos kind of taking the dump in the first round against Cam, that's always unfortunate because I like watching Carlos play,
Me
but
too.
that allowed Jannik kind of free run to get pick up all the points in this tournament. And now we
Right.
run into
And
Turin
retake the
with
number one, right?
he's going to retake number one tomorrow, or when you're
Right.
listening to this, it's today or now. But by the time they actually get to Turin the following week, those points from last year's Turin fall off, so he goes back to number two. Whatever. Those boys are going into Turin, and they are playing for year in number one, and that's what I'm here for. This is why I get up early in the morning and make that first cup of coffee. This is what I want out of my tennis life. I want to make the year in championships matter. So they're
Right.
going for it. Felix making this run, kind of wanted him to win too,
Yep.
because he's tussling over your boy Lorenzo Musetti for that last spot into Turin. And so Musetti's gotta take the hard road now, going out to Athens, land a 250 to try to work his way back into performing at the year in championships in front of his home Italian crowd. But it's exciting. Like in this time where we come out of US Open, it's a little, we go over to Asia, that's time zones are off. We got football going on here in the States. You get a little distracted. We get these indoor tournaments in Europe. It's awesome. And now I feel like we're about to make that last kick. We're coming down the
Yep.
backstretch,
Yep.
100 meters left to go, one
Yep.
more big event. I'm pumped. Let's do it. Before we get out of here, I want to touch a little bit on the WTA
Yep.
year-end championships, right? So they're playing right now. They've played, I think each lady has played one match so far. There's been one good match. Pegula versus Gauff this afternoon
Mhm.
was pretty entertaining. They tend to go back and forth. I think Coco won the last two as recently as maybe Wuhan. I think she beat
Yep.
Jessie. But Jessie's like 8-1 in her last 9 matches that have gone 3 sets. Like she just
Mm.
like
Locks in. Yeah.
locks in. Yeah, locks in.
Yep.
The
Yep.
other 3 matches that I've seen were not worth nothing much to write home about. I mean, Arena beat up on Paolini. The first match was Iga versus Madison, and Madison hasn't played a tour match since U.S. Open. So, again, much like Sinner, Iga came out like ready to go, like full lather sweat, ready to roll, and Madison looked like she was trying to play her way into like you need a couple challenge ladder matches before she starts playing against the other top 8 women in the world.
Right.
And then Rybakina looks like she's really benefiting from, having played a pretty heavy schedule since U.S. Open, trying to get into this event. Has been playing some good ball, and she brought the house to Amanda Anisimova. Served lights out, returned like a dream.
As she is apt to do, Alvin, and
Yeah,
as we talked about before, she's that lightning rod. If the sun, moon, and stars are aligned, Rybakina is all day. He is that Marat Safin of things in the match where you don't know which Rybakina is going to show up. And buddy, if it's on that day, you know what I mean? It's tough sledding. Period. She will put it together. It'll be which Rybakina shows up, and I think that's why I'm happy she made the tournament. So I know we're still group stages. I do want to give a shout out to my main man Mark Markland. The other half of Mark Knowles is the coaching team for for JPEG. I and you know what I like about that, Alvin, is not only am I a Pegula fan, as I've had been, I've expressed that many times on this podcast. I like to see players continue to make changes that are going to maximize what they can do and maybe draw on different things and different experiences with those two. Knowles was a top doubles player, and obviously Merklin was a good doubles player and a very, very top college player back in the day. And just the attitude and his approach to the game is all about energy and being positive. I just feel like that's the kind of voice you need to have in your ear. I talked to Merk a little bit up in the Open, and I'm just so excited to see her with a couple of good, solid coaches like that in her box. And she's always had some good coaches in her box from,
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
from Michael Joyce from back in the day and others. I just feel like there's so many good things. He has taken everything from each one of them and has continued to improve as a result. Stokey talked about her, when he was on our podcast before, and he,
Yep.
with some hits he's had with her and whatnot. There's been so many good people in her tennis life. I personally, you sent me a great article on Gavin McMillan, who's now obviously in Coco's team. I just feel like they're only going to get better, and I really like that. This is not that rivalry to me with her and Pegula and Coco is a tough one for me because I remember when they were first playing doubles together back in the day, and
Yeah.
so I still go back to that. And so if anybody knows her game well, it's Jessica. You know what I mean? So that's going to be one that she's going to have to continue to deal with. I am looking forward to few other matches coming up. I'm looking forward to, and I think the group stage, if I looked at it correctly, I think the next group stage match isn't it? Doesn't Pegula, doesn't, hang on, I'm looking at it right now. Paolini, doesn't Paolini play Madison? If I'm not mistaken, I was trying to look ahead and see. I'm looking forward to the next match. The two players on the Schneid, let me cut to that. The two players on the Schneid are Paolini and Madison, in my opinion.
Right. Okay.
They're the
Fair.
two players that, in my opinion, one hasn't played great tennis in the last 9 months, and one indoors clearly not her best surface with these Amazons, walking around, bringing heat. I don't think there's a lady under 5'8", and that might be Pegula and Iga, right? So everybody else is darn near 6 feet and above. So that being said, clearly Jasmine's got her work cut out for her, and obviously Madison's got to kind of shake off some cobwebs and kind of get back in the form, which probably won't happen by the time group stage is finished. Now, with that said, I think, it's still going to come down to the 3 or 4 we kind of thought. I wouldn't say I was surprised that Pegula won, but after it was a Wuhan, I think she beat her and beat her in straights, if I'm not mistaken. I thought Gauff had played it pretty well, which to me shows well for Jessica to say, I just played you 2 weeks ago. I know I know the script, so I know what to adjust. And you always got to have that with Jessica. You always know she's going to be watching tape, figuring things out. If there's a slight edge to be taken, she's going to take it. But I still think this comes down to the four players: Arena, Coco, in my opinion, Amanda. And obviously, I'm going to put Rybakina in that same mix. Not to throw shade on Iga. I just feel like in an indoor situation where weapons are king, feel like she who brings a few more weapons has the upper hand on paper. And that's
That's
and that's
fair.
where I'm going with it. So again, depending how the group stage works, I haven't seen the draw and to know, or nor is it finished to even know what the four who will emerge out of that. But that's where I'm going, kind of leaning this at this point in time. But it's going to be a very, very, um, you know, it's going to be a very, very exciting finish to this weekend. I'm looking forward to the tennis. Again, you said it before, it's a shooter's paradise. I mean, if you can strike, you're indoor, buddy. Bring it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how the way the groups shook out, right? So Iga ended up in the group with all big hitters, right? She had Madison in her group. She actually plays Rybakina tomorrow, and then she also has Anna Samova in her group. So she's got some big hitters in her group. So that's, you know, there you can look at it one of two ways. Either she's under siege the entire time, or she's getting to see a big ball
The
every single
easier half,
day. So
right? She's
yeah,
got the easier
it gets a
half of
little
that too. Let's be
right.
for real.
And then on the other side, you have Sabalenka, is the big hitter in her group with a lot of pretty good movers with Paolini, Coco,
Right.
and I just lose with JPEG as well. So yeah, it's interesting. I feel like with the way the groups are put together, I'm with you. I believe Coco and Arena will probably come out of that side. Um, we'll see. We'll see. It's tough
It's tough.
now that we've seen one match from everybody. It's a little tough to say. I don't want to I've already seen a lot of these matches happen already. So, but
Yeah.
tomorrow's matches you have Iga versus Rybakina, Anna Samova versus Keys, and then they flip the other side on Tuesday with Coco playing Jasmine and
Yeah.
Arena playing Pegula. So we still got a lot of work to get to. And I think the
Yep.
tournament wraps up on Thursday or Friday, so we'll come back to you guys with that at
Yep.
that time. So I think but I think that's a good place for us to pull the e-break.
Yep.
Again, this was fun. I really enjoyed Paris. New arena, new part of town, same Paris indoors. Felt the same to me.
Yeah.
But again, yeah. Well,
Court
let's.
looks weird. I gotta say, the court looks tiny. I mean, does it not?
Well, it's the lighting. I think it's the lighting because they're playing at La Défense, which is out in the suburbs of Paris, and it's this very very large stadium. I think it's the second largest tennis stadium behind Arthur Ashe. It's very big. The center court is, but then the second and third court are kind of right next to each other, and you're at an outside court at US Open or something like that.
Right.
And so that
Right.
one
P1 and
looks
2.
really right. That one looks really
Yeah.
small. Especially with
Right.
the way they kind of pulled the bleachers in. So it's a little wonky, but I think from a facility standpoint, it's an upgrade from Bercy, which I went to. I was there last year. The second court downstairs is just it fit fewer people than my senior class in high school, right? It's super small.
Right.
And the line to get in there, it's general admission. So people, if you didn't have a ticket to center court, which luckily we did for the one day we were there, if you didn't camp out and get downstairs and stay there all day, you weren't watching any tennis. But
Wow.
now they have an extra court, they have more seating. I think it's a net positive, although
Yeah.
Bercy is a neighborhood inside of downtown Paris, which we could walk to, as opposed to now you got to go out. But that's just a little thing. But yeah, let's.
I felt the same thing about Rod Laver Cup when it first came out. By the way, I felt like the stadium is so massive, the court seems small, right? And let's be honest, I think that's the one beautiful thing about Arthur Ashe. However, it was designed, maybe there's not so much extra room, even though there's a lot of extra room. It just and maybe the way the cup of the stadium sits, it doesn't feel like it is small. You know what I mean? The court feels bigger almost on Ash. But these two courts, I felt like the guys were playing. It looked like a little bigger than mini tennis when they're hitting balls. You're like, what court are these guys on? And Felix ripped the ball at the end of the match, and I don't think he made it into the stands. I mean, I'm like, is this thing like 100 yards away from the people? I mean, I couldn't, because all you can see is the lower tier people, right? In the
Right.
stands. So anyway, all that said, I look forward to going to one of these with you in the future. I agree with you. Great tennis. And I'm looking forward to the end of the year and as well as the WTA finals. So we'll get back to you in a week.
Yep, we'll wrap up strong. All right, that's our show for today. Again, subscribe, follow, like, all that stuff, and best of 3. We are out.